There are growing indications that suspected terrorists operating in northern Nigeria are relocating following missile strikes carried out by the United States on Thursday night. Credible community leaders reported unusual movements as armed elements migrated in small groups in the aftermath of the Christmas Day attacks. On Thursday, former U.S. President Donald Trump announced that the American military had conducted lethal strikes against Islamic State terrorists in northwestern Nigeria. The federal government confirmed the operation, stating that Nigeria supported the strikes, which targeted areas being used by terrorists. According to officials, no fatalities were recorded at the two primary locations hit by the missiles. In Sokoto State, a missile struck farmland in Jabo, Tamil local government area, while buildings were damaged in Alfa, Kwara State. Officials in Tangaza local government area of Sokoto disclosed that additional strikes targeted suspected hideouts of the Lakua armed group across parts of the Sokoto axis. Although no deaths were reported, several residents sustained injuries, and properties worth millions of naira were destroyed in both Sokoto and Alfa. Influx of armed herders in Benue. The chairman of the Traditional Council in Gwere West local government area of Benue State, Daniel Abams, raised concerns over an influx of armed herders into communities following the strikes. Speaking on Saturday, the traditional ruler said he had observed the presence of heavily armed individuals in his domain. Abams praised the U.S. action, describing it as the best thing to have happened to Nigeria in the last 16 years, and commended Trump for addressing a long-standing security menace. He urged the United States to extend similar operations to Benue, Kogi, Taraba, Niger, and Plateau states. Attempts to confirm these claims with the Benue State Police Command spokesperson, Udime Adet, were unsuccessful as calls and messages went unanswered as of the time of filing this report. Terrorist networks disrupted in Sokoto. Security sources and residents said the Christmas Day strikes disrupted bandit operations and forced fighters to abandon their hideouts. Community leaders in Tangaza, Gudu, and parts of Lila local government areas of Sokoto State reported signs of dislocation and movement among armed groups. Speaking anonymously, some leaders said bandits were seen moving in smaller groups toward remote forest corridors, while others were believed to be attempting to cross into neighboring border communities to evade aerial and ground surveillance. A community leader in Tangaza said the airstrikes sent a strong warning, compelling criminals to abandon familiar routes and camps. People are cautious, but there is relief that their hideouts were hit, he said. Sokoto state officials said intelligence assessments were ongoing to determine the direction and scale of the bandits' movement. A senior official added that security agencies had been placed on high alert, with border patrols and joint operations intensified to block escape routes. Security expert Bashar Umar noted that the state government, in collaboration with military and security agencies, was strengthening surveillance in flashpoints, especially border local governments, to curb further movement by terrorists. U.S. surveillance resumes over Sambisa Forest. A U.S. Congressman, Riley Moore, said the strikes prevented deadly Christmas attacks in Nigeria. In a post on X on Saturday, Moore noted that Christians have been killed during the previous two Christmas seasons. This year, thanks to POTUS, radical Islamic terrorists were on the receiving end of 12 Tomahawk missiles, he wrote, adding that the coordinated strikes with the Nigerian government were a first step toward securing the country and ending the killing of Christians. Sunday Punch also learned that the United States had resumed surveillance operations over the Sambisa Forest in Borno State. A Sahel-focused terrorism tracker, Brant Phillip, shared flight tracking data showing a Gulfstream V aircraft, commonly modified for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, operating over the area. According to Phillip, the ISR operations targeting ISWAP resumed after a one-day pause following the Sokoto strikes. Experts warn of terrorist adaptation. Security analyst and CEO of Beacon Consulting, Kabru Adamu, warned that fleeing terrorists might attempt to blend into civilian populations or seek support from international terror networks. Adamu said the groups could exploit religious narratives to gain sympathy, portraying the strikes as attacks on Muslims by a Christian nation. He cautioned that Nigeria could become a broader theater of terror activity if such propaganda succeeds. They will likely seek funding, membership, and tactical support from other terror groups globally, he said, adding that misinformation and online propaganda will be key tools in their strategy. Similarly, Professor Tar Usman of the Nigerian Defense Academy said the U.S. intervention would distract terrorists and disrupt their planning. He explained that uncertainty over future strikes would heighten fear and reduce their operational capacity. However, Usman cautioned that the intervention would not automatically end terrorism, noting that insurgents might adopt new tactics or attempt to disappear into civilian communities. A top government source confirmed ongoing collaboration between Nigeria and the United States to end killings, banditry, and kidnappings. The source added that some terrorists were fleeing toward Kogi and neighboring states, but measures were being put in place to track and flush them out.